Trump's big nuke testing ahead of meeting with Xi Jinping. Trump to the War Department. Start testing on nuke weapons. The process of testing nuke weapons is to begin. Because of other countries' testing programs, I have instructed the Department of War to start testing on nuclear weapons on an equal basis. I have instructed Department of War to start the nuclear weapon testing on an equal basis. We have Gaurav and Pranay with us to, in fact, given their insights on this very piece of information that we are picking up at this point, viewers. Pranay, I would want to come to you first quickly. How important is this particular development right ahead of the meeting, and what does this translate to?
Look, US want to give a strength posture. They want to show to the domestic audience that US is not succumbing. In fact, US want to, keep their strength. They want to keep their superiority in terms of every technological field, be it the traditional points of strength like the nuclear weapons or the nuclear technology, or be it the advanced frontiers like artificial intelligence or the space technology. So I think US already has excellence or their strength in nuclear technology. They have a huge nuclear stockpile. So I think this is more for rhetoric and less for reason. But if President Donald Trump and the Trump administration and Department of War is already working on this thing, certainly this should be seen in context of the recent missile test by Russia and the other aspirations as far as the nuclear weapon and nuclear technology acquisitions are concerned.
Right, Pranay. Gaurav, coming to you next, would you say this is more to do with posturing at this point, given the important meeting that's coming up with Xi Jinping? And how are you looking at it?
Recently, the Russian President Vladimir Putin, he saw the entire command and control exercise of the triad of nuclear weapons that were tested in Russia. The triad carried out an exercise. So the Russian Army, the Russian Navy, the Russian Air Force. This also included the submarine arm, which carried out very, very major exercise. This in response to that, because President Donald Trump wants to be seen not just as a deal maker, but also as a peacemaker. So far, wherever he's tried, he hasn't found much success. For example, that important the conflict between Russia and Ukraine is still on. Between Israel and Hamas, it's only intensified. The casualty figures in Gaza are mounting. They've apparently crossed more than 110. And this is very alarming. And this is after that, with much fanfare, the 20-point agenda was signed at Sharm el-Sheikh. Did that lead to peace? No, it's only led to more bloodshed. And Russia is also carrying out not just intense exercises, but also intense operations inside Ukraine. And there are apprehensions that Ukraine may not be able to hold the front lines much longer, losing the number of troops it is. And there is no Tomahawk cruise missile that's been given to Ukraine at the same time. So it's a Russia-Ukraine signal that's going out here. And of course, there's a big message for Chinese President Xi Jinping. Do not support Russia's war efforts. There's a lot of dual-use technology, a lot of other assistance that China is giving Russia, and of course not very directly. So this is something that President Trump wants to show does not happen. Can he succeed? Remains a challenge.
Absolutely. Bill and Geeta, I would want to bring you into the conversation now. If we're speaking of Russia, and yes, the timing of this particular exercise that's been ordered by the president is right after Russia. We've seen such a similar exercise being conducted by Russia. Now, if we speak of Russia in this in the very context of this meeting that's to take place between Xi and Donald Trump, we're looking at a time when Donald Trump has been consistently using tariffs, economic sanctions on countries, be it India, be it China, for striking a negotiation between Ukraine and Russia. So today, as we speak right ahead of this meeting, let's try and understand what is the focus in terms of what will Donald Trump, or rather how far does a Donald Trump go into negotiating with China while the Russian war still continues at this given point, and how far does it push China, given the tariff war, to in fact give in to their demands that, yes, you start putting pressure on Russia too and you curb your supplies to Russia and we'll have a deal on the table?
Well, Russia is not a part of the puzzle over here. Yes, it is part of America's foreign policy security architecture and how they want to deal with Russia and how they're going to move forward on the Russia-Ukraine front. But when it comes to China, China has been rather composed this time around. They were quite stumped and couldn't deal with Trump the first time around, but this time, even with very harsh trade and tariff imposition on Beijing, they did not really get rattled. So over here, Russia is not, and there's no pressure per se that America can put on China to influence Russia. They are an axis. They work together. They work in tandem. And that's the pressure point that many other countries, including America, are feeling. So that's not going to change, and that's not the kind of conversation or arm twisting tactic or leverage that America has anymore. In fact, over here, the focus is going to be on American security interests, which really have to do with the rare earths and how China closed the tap on that for them, and how that could really impact the way America really works towards defense capability. And that's an important part of the conversation that's going to be had today. Right. There is going to be no certain trade deal that's going to be announced, but yes, a framework certainly would be announced when it comes to the two countries and how the two sides need to move forward. Remember, China is not giving in on critical issues, but made signs and those gestures that you could see by China procuring soybean before the meeting.
Geeta, we'll come back to the entire economic focus here that you're mentioning.